Hmm. So this is kind of different than a lot of the other shit that I do. Well, yeah, definitely a lot different. But I just want to preface everything that's about to happen in this video by just saying, listen, I'm not a movie critic. I'm not a film buff. I I'm not anybody who you should be taken seriously for anything movie related. I'm just a guy who watches movies, relax, chill. If it's good, I like it. If it's not, I will never watch it again. But I just sat through probably one of the greatest trilogies in film history. And when I say greatest, I mean the greatest steaming pile of turd I have ever seen in my entire life. What is that movie, you might be asking? I really hope you're not that curious. But just in case you are, we're talking about the kissing boot. Now, like I said, I realize when it comes to movies, not everyone's not trying to make the perfect movie, not trying to make an Oscar-winning film or anything like that. Sometimes people just come together and make movies with their friend, something that they can laugh and joke about and put out for people who are just willing to see it. And I understand that. And this is probably one of those movies. But my issue is they put this movie out when it should be illegal. This movie is actually horrible for the human eye to see. I felt like I was getting diarrhea cancers or something. Like if that was an actual thing that could be manifested, it is this movie. Now, I'm just gonna get right in because there's three movies, and that's like around 3 to 4 hours of nonsense. So yeah, let's start off with the first movie. The first movie is, usually the beginning of a movie kind of tells you the entire tone of the big picture here, but this movie is just a little weird. This film series in general, I don't know if they want you to take these movies seriously or see them as a joke. In the first couple movies, one and two, I feel like they want you to take it somewhat seriously, especially the first movie. But then around the end of two and three, let's stay on track. First movie start off, okay. So the main protagonist is born, and not just born any type of way. They're born at the exact same time as another person in this movie. That person over there, oh, this guy, and they're not just born at the same time. They're born in the same place at the exact same time, same place, and literally for some reason, I guess even their parents are best friend. Oh yeah, you heard that right. They're just so weirdly connected to each other. It's the weirdest pairing I ever seen. Like, my God, you want to explain something? But yeah, so the movies do a little montage to get you settled into how the two characters' relationships work. They are basically the definition of best friends. If you thought you were best friend with someone, y'all ain't shit. These two are literally like connected, like, and it's really weird friendship. At first, it's not too bad, they show a little montage of them playing around. They have this little dance game they always like to play, and they grow up, and that's the thing. They technically grow up, but their character development, or at least their brain development, didn't seem to grow up with them. And what I mean is that I believe these kids, teenagers in this movie, I don't think there's much time that actually passed throughout this trilogy. But at least in the first movie, they start off around 17. But it's weird because obviously they don't look 17. They look like they're in college already, which I guess is convenient considering the third movie. But spoilers, they're 17. Yeah, these guys, especially the other guy, Lee, his mentality, it's just odd. It's like he's stuck in middle school. And the main character is kind of like, cutesy girly, but something later on makes me question what's going on with her overall. But yeah, the movie, we get past the montage, we see how their character relationship works, and then they get to the main thing what this movie's about. You might think, well, it's called the kissing booth, so it's definitely about the kissing booth, right? Hell no. The kissing booth isn't something that get really talked about or developed until like the last third of the movie. Like it's barely something that matters. It's just something that works for the plot to progress, but it's barely has any meaning besides just a callback to a scene. And you'll see what I mean in a later movie when I describe them. So they show how their friendship work, and it works in a very specific possessive type of way, might I add, is that they have a rule book. And basically how their friendship work is they have these, how many number of rules it is, probably like 20 plus, and you can't do anything against these rules because it's like bro code, even though it's boy and girl. Oh my god, but man and woman cannot be friends. This is weird. And trust me, these guys definitely show you that they can be friends. It's just a really weird friendship. But it'll just be random things like, oh, you're supposed to always support your bestie. Oh, you're always supposed to do this. You can't do that, and you can't do this. It's a really weird possessive friendship that feels like if this rule book wasn't a thing, they wouldn't be good friends. And I'm still not convinced that they're actually good friends. I feel like they're just long childhood friends that just stuck with each other for so long that nobody else liked them outside of this friendship. So you're like, okay, I guess I'll fall back on you. Like, why not? Who cares? Moving on. Yeah, we got Lee. We got the main character. I don't even know what her name is. It's like L or something. Something like that. We're going to call her L. We got Lee and L, and everything just move in a very slow pace at the beginning of the movie. There's no real plot yet. It's basically, oh, this just goofy friend. But there's one thing I kind of want to mention. Elle's character is highly sexualized in these movies. It's just weird because she's technically 17 in this movie, even though the actress is more than likely a lot older than 17. But in the first scene as Elle in 17 form is, oh, my pants got ripped. This can't happen. This can't do. No, 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 no. What can I do? So they're like, okay. And I hope this is the first movie. Though it could be the second movie where this happened. I don't know. I barely remember these movies that well, and I just watched them. So they get into the scene where it's like, okay, you're going to be wearing a mini skirt, and I'm like, girl, why do you still have your old ass clothes? Why you still have this mini skirt that's like, now, Elle, I know you ain't gonna walk out of here with that on. Where your clothes at? It's like, well, Dad, I don't have anything. It's like all my other clothes are in the wash. Okay, Elle. I guess I'll bring your clothes when they done. I'll bring them to the school. Oh my god, Daddy, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I'm just gonna walk out with the mini skirt. Don't mind me. And now I'm gonna tell you right now, if this was a black father, he'd be beating that girl's ass. Like 2021, I get it, but he would have been beating that girl's ass. Ain't no way anybody else's father is about to let him walk out with a fucking mini skirt. I'm talking about like this is how small that skirt was. Like, girl, you must be joking. Um, yeah, and then we get to further progress. Everyone's like looking at her at school. Everyone's making fun of her. All this blah 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 blah. Get into trouble, hijinks. I really don't want to comment too much on the school stuff because I don't want this video to end up really long. But the main thing here is that we get into the real plot point, the thing that progressed, and I say that there's a specific character that I'm going to mention right now that is literally the plot of this movie. Even though this movie is called A Kissing Booth, it might as well be called this person's name. And I mean Noah. Noah is Lee's brother. He is also a guy who's unfortunately in this movie because, they got to get a really hunky, look, muscled up dude, right? But unfortunately, he's in this movie, and Noah is the person that Elle is crushing on. Now, you might think, well, why does that matter? How did that progress the plot? Noah is Lee's older brother. I know, right? It's like they barely even look related. Genes is whatever. So the biggest rule in this little movie and their little friendship handbook between Lee and Elle is to never date the other person's sibling or something like that. So Elle always had this small crush on Noah. And that kind of causes the conflict of she can't have that. She can't have what she wants, or at least try to pursue what she wants, because she'll be messing up the friend code that she has to delete. Now, personally, this is pretty ridiculous. I don't think this actually matters at all. I don't know why Lee would come up with a role like this. Is it possibly because he don't trust his brother to be a good person to Elle? And at least this is my assumption. The first movie, I kind of figured this out later on, or they specifically tell you. Is it because he's jealous? Does he possibly have a thing for her? And spoiler alert, I guess not. I don't. It doesn't seem like he have any attraction towards Elle. He literally sees her as a sister, and they kind of grew up as sisters and brothers, so it makes sense. So why is there this restriction on, like this dating thing? And I don't know. It's the main thing that progresses the plot of this first movie. The next thing I kind of want to mention here is the kissing booth itself. And the only reason the kissing booth is in this movie is to have a central background to set up more plot. And what I mean is, yeah, Lee and Elle needs this big idea to make money or something. And what's the best possible way to do that? I guess is to make a kissing booth, right? They have to get the okay from these weird people on the council, make the kissing booth happen, and lo and behold, there you go. But here's the thing, everyone's starting to notice how Elle and Noah are actually very close, which is weird how they just now starting to know it. I mean, they knew each other for so long. How do people just now realize that she knows Noah? How does she not have clout already, right? And they're like, "Oh my God, Elle, you never told us that you knew Noah like that. Oh my God." So what he's like. And basically, we get into this scenario where Elle now has the power to use the clout that she had with being friends with Noah, get him to participate in this kissing booth, so it makes money and everything works out in the end. And you're probably thinking, okay, Ed, I guess I get it. You're not really doing a good job explaining why this murder. And hold on. So the big issue here is obviously Elle likes Noah. Elle can't tell Noah that because in fear of Lee knowing, and Noah and Lee are brothers and friendship code, blah 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 blah. And this is where the movie get crazy. Elle and Noah get some couple scenes together. They talk. They have this weird possessive behavior with each other. There's this bully, and we're gonna go back to the sexualization thing of Elle. There's this person who literally smacks her ass in the movie, and there's nothing coming from the main characters like, hey, what the fuck? Hey, like what the fuck? Lee is the one who's like, all right, bro, let's go. And then Noah says, out of nowhere, literally out of nowhere, get him into detention. And Elle is flirting with the guy in detention that slapped her ass out in public, literally sexually harassed her. And I'm like, Elle, what the fuck is your standards? What is your fucking standards? Like, it's like they sexualize the fuck and just make her have no personality, no brain, no moral, no nothing. Like, she just don't care about anything that's going on in this movie. Next thing up, because I want to get this, I don't want to spend too much time on this movie, but we might as well talk about this. Noah is the weirdest fucking character in this trilogy. He is the main reason this story even exists. Like I said, they need to be calling this the Kissing Noah, not the Kissing Booth, because his relationship with Elle is weird. He's very possessive of her and very toxic in a way. It's like you might not catch it because you just see him as a very hunky looking guy, but him and Lee works together to stop Elle from having any type of meaningful relationship with any other guy. Both of these guys honestly suck. I don't know. Elle doesn't realize this because she's just ignorant of it. Unaware of what's happening. And it's not until later on in the other movies that you realize this. But Noah is very toxic. He's telling everybody you can't date her, you can't do this, you can't like get with these people. But he doesn't do anything with her for the entire time. But then suddenly out of nowhere, they hook up. Right? A romance movie where the main lead hook up with the hunky guy, and the hunky guy is actually the brother of her best friend. And they don't just hook up, like, just kiss or whatever and start dating. No, the whoever made this movie was like, we're gonna make it a montage of them having sex everywhere. It feels like I was watching amateur porn. There's scenes where they're having sex in the car, out in the garage, out in the fucking Hollywood sign. They were just fucking. They showed no romance between these two. There was nothing romantic that they were specifically doing. Maybe like two romantic looking scenes out of like this 10 fucking scenes that was in there. And it was just insane to me. It's like they didn't showcase how good their relationship looked. It just showed the allure of the secret nature of their relationship. And how good it felt to just be on the loose and just finally swinging with something. I always say that, when it comes to high school, you might get a high school sweetheart that ends up being your full time love, your forever love. But most of the time in high school, it's always just an experience, and there's nothing too serious about some of your relationship. It's always something that you might lead to the next thing. But for Elle, it's just like she made a big thing out of her just fucking this guy, and it's just I don't understand. We're gonna move on. So we get to the kissing booth. Noah's there. Obviously, that's how you get the smooch on, and that's how we get the sex montage. Blah, 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 blah. It's living in secret. Suddenly, Lee finds out. Uh oh. He finds out. Uh oh. Cheerio. So Lee confronts Elle. Elle, Lee fight, get mad at each other. Lee and Noah fight and get mad at each other, and it's like, both of these, everybody's in the wrong. Elle's in the wrong for not telling her best friend about this and keeping it a secret for as long as possible. Noah's in the wrong for it for not being understanding of why Lee might be pissed that her best friend, his best friend and his brother is fucking behind his back. And Lee is in the wrong for thinking that Elle deserves to explain herself in that way. Now, I know it just said, oh, well, fucking behind his back. But then I'm like, okay, well, you don't have to explain anything. It's kind of like the respect. Like, you're fucking, you're fucking in his house. You might as well just tell. It's disrespectful as fuck to just do it behind his back and treat him like he doesn't deserve to know. But he doesn't deserve the satisfaction of them breaking up. Because at one point they do semi break up, and Lee doesn't even really try to salvage the relationship. He doesn't even go like, I know you're really upset, but like, you'll get over it. He literally does not care about Elle's happiness. He cares about the fact that he and Elle are still friends and close friends. And something that he says at the end of this movie, I believe, really points that out to you. And he says something along the lines of, okay, Elle, listen, I always thought that, my brother, he always get everything in the world, everything in the world. And the one thing he never had was you. But now he does. And now I have nothing. I have nothing to my name. And I'm like, what the fuck? You don't own this girl. Like, I get it. You don't like sharing things with your brother that you apparently don't have a good relationship with. And that's the thing. They never developed these two dudes' relationship that well. They are the worst brothers. They spend so much time with the relationship between Lee and Elle and Noah and Elle, and there's just no development between the brothers. Each having a good conversation. It's like they just tolerate each other, and it's ridiculous. I hate the fact that these two brothers have no proper relationship with each other. They always feel like they're competing with each other, which is weird because Leah is not trying to be in a relationship with Elle. He just wants to be her friend, but he's possessive, and Noah is possessive, and Elle has no individuality or freedom from this. She has to commit to one or the other, or she's basically being a shitty friend or a shitty girlfriend. Moving on to the second movie, because the first movie is trash. It ends, they get back together, you get it. The second movie, it's like, oh no, they're getting rid of our dance machine. Oh my god. I'm like, really? So now it's not even the kissing booth, it's not even the kissing Noah, it is the kissing ass of this fucking shitty dance machine. Okay. So they're like, we gotta come up with another way to make money. And it's like, wait, what about that dance contest? And I'm like, You guys do Dance Dance Revolution. How are you guys even considering yourself to be good dancers? Like, what? Hello? Oh, and very important plot point. I guess at the end of the first movie, Lee gets a girlfriend, just out of nowhere from the kissing booth. Good for him. Good for him. He really needs something as a distraction. Because that leads into the second movie of where Lee has this issue of not prioritizing his girlfriend because he spends so much time with Elle, and she realized this. And this terrible communication issue is one of the bigger things of this movie. It's the combination of that and the combination of a new character they get introduced, Marco. Marco is this. Marco is literally the Spanish version of Noah. It's like they almost look very similar to me. They might as well be brothers. Probably Marco and Noah probably has more scene together bonding, well, in a very toxic way of bonding, than Lee and Noah has any scene together. I honestly can't remember how many Lee and Noah scenes there are of them being friendly toward each other or anything at all. Probably like one or two where they're just alone in the room. Marco and Noah has more scenes together alone or in general together than Lee and Noah, in my opinion, which is really weird for brothers, right? So Marco is the main antagonist, and I'm using that word lightly because he's just the main foil, I guess, between Noah and Elle. He randomly just show up in the beginning of the film where everyone talking like, "Oh my god, he's so sexy, he's so nice. Look at him. Oh my god, wow." And I'm like, "Bitch, nobody cares about this man. He just came out of nowhere. He literally comes out of nowhere later on as well." And I guess lead to make sure he salvages his relationship because the girlfriend wants him to spend more time with him and tell Elle like, "Hey, back off. This is my man. Back off." And the best way I guess they could have done this, I guess, was to showcase that, oh, I'm gonna fake this injury so I can't do the dance contest. So Marco is going to step in, which is really weird because Elle is technically still in a relationship with Noah. And Noah is off in Harvard at the end of the first movie to pursue an education. Wow, someone actually smart in this movie. Pursuing an education? Wow. If only everybody was doing that, this movie might actually make some more sense for people. So moving on, we have another issue. Elle has this insecurity of not knowing what's going on with Noah in Harvard, and they introduce another character in this movie. They introduce like two extra characters as foils to the protagonist, and it's this British chick. I honestly cannot tell you her name. I don't remember, but she is like uh, Noah's best friend, and she looks like she could honestly be his teacher. Not anything wrong with her. I think she's a very attractive looking person, but I just feel like for some reason she looked like much older than Noah. Like she could be a professor there. Uh, and basically them being really close friends make Elle very jealous, which is kind of hypocritical because she is incredibly close friends with Lee, and that's Noah's brother. But of course, they don't have that type of relationship. But it's just weird to me that she doesn't like that he's getting close with this chick when she's very close with this dude. I don't know. Like you could say that obviously Noah is probably more attractive than Lee for the average girl, and this chick probably makes her feel insecure. But I don't. I still think it's very hypocritical of her, and it makes sense of being jealous, but to cause a big scene because this gets become a very big thing. They cause a humongous scene at a Thanksgiving dinner where all these characters for some reason come together and get very petty with each other. But not before Elle for some reason kisses Marco on the lip during the dance competition to seal the deal of her actually being the worst person in this relationship by technically cheating in front of Noah's face. I don't even know how they develop feelings. It's like Marco literally had no interest in Elle and then suddenly became falling in love. He is fucking simping. Literally, what is the main thing that this movie trilogy, and Twitch users have in common? It's the insane amount of simping. I have no idea what's going on with everybody in this movie, but it's like Elle is like the most amazing person in the world for everyone, and they just bend over for her. I don't know what's so precious about this. She's very average. I'm not even talking about looks at all. I'm talking about just in general. There's nothing special about her that should be attracting this much drama, attention, and toxicity. Like this entire shit is so incredibly toxic to the point to where it just doesn't make sense. So there's a big moment between Marco and Noah, and they get very jealous, blah 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 blah. And we're just gonna wrap up the second movie. Break up, get back together, whoop de blue. So we're gonna move on to the third movie. I want to make this brief because we're running out of time, or I'm running out of patience talking about this shitty, terrible movie. Third movie, okay, so Elle has the dilemma of wanting to get into multiple college, either Berkeley, which is the one that is associated with her best friend, or Harvard, which is the one associated with her boyfriend. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. If I'm thinking about my future, and if I plan to have someone I love in my future, she obviously loved both person, right? And if I was in that situation, I would definitely choose the person that I consider my lover over my best friend, because my best friend is going to pursue their life with the person that they also love, which Lee still had in this third movie. See, he still had a girlfriend, and Noah is very important to Elle, and yet this constant weird struggle. And the first off, how the fuck is Elle, who does no good amount of schoolwork that I can see from this movie, has potential to go into both Harvard and fucking Berkeley? First off, the beginning of the movie, she's like, "Oh yeah, Harvard, yeah, can you just give me more time to think about it? Like, I need to just, think about it." I'm like, "Bitch, you are talking to a Harvard administrator who is trying to give you a chance into this fucking school, and you're telling them to wait." If my black ass did that, they're gonna be like, "Ah, nah, you cut. Who's next in the wait list?" But how does she have the ability to get in the fucking wait list, call these people, and be like, "Can you extend my time?" And they do it anyway. How you do that? How you do that? Explain. So moving on, the plot of this movie is not the kissing booth. It is not the kissing Noah, and it's not the kissing Marco, or whatever, or the kissing Dance Dance Revolution machine. It's the kissing ass of the house. There's, for some reason, this summer beach house that they always go to as kids that is getting shut down because they need it renovated. Blah 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 blah. Like, you probably heard this plot so many times in so many movies. I know I have. And they basically have to scrounge up stuff to save it, or do whatever they can to save it. And this movie is just so boring. I don't really remember most of what happened, besides the fact that Marco's back for no reason. This guy is just so in love with Elle after like two scenes with her. Like, all you gotta do is dance with someone and you fall in love. Like, I can tell whoever wrote this movie is doing it just for, fan fiction, or probably like for their own self fantasy, and that's fine. Like I said, this movie is probably just something you make with your friends or family. They're probably really close with each other, everyone in the cast, and they just like doing this movie. Despite how poorly written or cringy it is, it's something fun for them, and I'm sort of target audience for this. Very much enjoy this little, you know, Edward Jacob type of thing, like it's Twilight. So it makes sense. My main issue is that Marco had no meaning to be in this movie besides drama. This movie is literally just fine. There's nothing that deserve any of this drama. But then they bring back Marco, and they bring back Noah's best friend. I'm like, bro, who cares about these additional characters? Lee's girlfriend is the only additional character they add that I actually like, because she's decent. She doesn't distract me from the plot, and even though she affects the plot in the same type of way, it's not so in your face about it. Like, it makes sense that she wants her boyfriend to focus on her and his relationship, and not just always kiss up on Elle's ass. So they spend most of this movie doing this bucket list they made as kids to fill it out. And it's just, montages after montages. And the central conflict is obviously is decide what school to go to. Just big petty stuff about this whole thing. Lee is literally the worst friend ever. If you get a friend like Lee, get rid of him. He is toxic. He does not. He never shows signs of caring for Elle. He never does any nice, kind gestures for her. He just always very mad at her, and he always and Elle has to apologize for him, and he accepts it, and he gets over his issue. This movie does a terrible job trying to explain to me why she cares about either one of them. But you know what? I'm gonna keep this review very short. They do something good here. Elle gets rid of both of them around the end of the movie and just runs away. Not really runs away, kind of like focus on herself. She doesn't go to either colleges, I believe. She's just focused on her own individuality. And then 6 years later, they do a 6 year time scale where Elle is the only one that looks remotely different. And I guess she comes back and she meets Noah again. It's like, okay, hey Noah, like hi, and yeah, that's the whole thing. Uh, this, I don't want to talk too much more about the third movie. It's really bad. It's honestly, it's it's like the first two movies. At least they have enough to work with. The third movie just has no reason. Everything was already wrapped up, and they literally just reused characters from the second movie to as the do the same thing as before. But my main issue with this movie trilogy is that it doesn't. It feels like there need to be like some kind of social awareness with what's going on here. Both Noah and Lee are very toxic to Elle, and they take up all her free time. She spends so much time being a people pleaser, and I see a lot of people on Reddit and stuff saying that she's an insufferable person, and I think she's not the best, but I don't think it's her fault. I think the problem is that she spends so much of her time with everybody else. I mean, fuck, this girl doesn't even call back her mom in the hospital. We don't even know she literally does like two scenes of her mom in the hospital. Nobody ever talks about their mom or anything. Like, hell, her family don't even mean nothing. She spent most of the time worrying about these two fucking idiots. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, Elle had no life outside of these two. So that's why I think they kind of went with the direction they did at the end of the third movie to give herself individuality. But it feels so rushed, and it feels like they just kind of want to get this movie out and be done with this franchise. And I'm glad, because I am also done with this. And you might think, well, Ed, if you hated these movies so much, then why did you fucking watch them? Well, maybe it's because I just love seeing a train wreck. Maybe, you ever just watch something that's really fucking bad, but you can't look away? You're like, that's how I feel with this movie. I genuinely cannot stand this fucking movie. I think it's awful. I think it's terrible. But I cannot look away because it's so stupid. It's so much fun talking about how bad this movie is that we're here like 30 minutes and it's still going. But yeah, that's why the what is this movie called? The Kissing Booth. By the way, the whole idea of a kissing booth, the way they do it is so fucking weird and gross. Literally, they blindfold people and let people walk up and kiss you. Not only is that fucking gross, it's also really fucking weird how they glorify the fuck out of this being a big thing. Like, oh my god, they're still doing the kissing booth at our school. Oh my god, like I'm gonna be honest with you, especially in this current COVID climate, this shit would have been taken down. There's no way no school is gonna be doing this kind of shit. It's fucking preposterous. I don't know what kind of special school they go to, but this shit would have been shut down anywhere where I live. But yeah, Kissing Booth is like a solid 3 out of 10. It's really bad. The first movie is like decent. It's like a decent Netflix stuff that you can come to expect. I don't. It's like this teenage Netflix nonsense. The second movie, it's just awful. It's really bad. No reason for it exists. Literally just comes up with fucking conflicts to prolong the movie length and plot. Third movie is even worse. Like this is where they just kind of just said fuck it. Let's just have fun. And literally they have a part where they're doing Mario Kart and it's just like I'm not gonna get my time back from this. I hate my life.